Have you ever gone all out on safety equipment only to realize it poses an unrecognized risk? Hey there, Daniel Hartman, Community Machinery, Sackville, New Brunswick, and what I feel is perhaps our most important safety video to date. Got this Swedish Fume Extractor high-end unit about a year and a half ago, bought it secondhand, very well maintained, and usually work about 4 feet away on a table, tabletop height, MIG welding, which produces some sparks, and pretty mindful of the settings and what's going on in order to not create unnecessary sparks. So working away, all of a sudden flip up the welding shield and realize all the smoke is billowing out. This thing is usually parked back underneath that racking. And part of what aggravated the fire, there's that saying, fanning the flames. Well, this thing, obviously, because there's air traveling in here and moving through a filter, that theoretically a spark dropped down because the filter seemed to start burning from the outside. And all that air being fed in made this thing just light up. And while there's only a spot in the filter about that big that was burnt, you gotta think this thing here has been trapping all these carcinogens, storing them in this filter. Next thing that burns, how intensely toxic is that? This whole place was full of smoke. It was a very still day. This is usually a very windy place. But opened up the large overhead truck door, had the doors and the windows at the back open, and that, it just lingered. It was tough. So the other thing we did is, before to put the fire out, is basically pop that top off. Luckily none of the plastic was melted. Pulled the plastic cover off, got it outside, pulled the filter, got it outside, filled up a 5-gallon bucket with water, doused the filter with water. Didn't want to use a chemical fire extinguisher. Actually, we got a CO2 fire extinguisher. That's a really hot tip. If you're working on anything that you don't want to get that chemical on. Now, the filter, obviously, you don't want to get that full of chemical. You don't want to blow that with compressed air, as far as you're going to change the structure of that filter. Unless you're a scientist who designs filters and you can do some kind of research on it. You don't want to tap it. You don't want to use compressed air, as far as I know. Other thing I learned recently, for welding aluminum and stainless steel, this top part comes off to put a HEPA filter in. Did not realize the HEPA filter is necessary. The carcinogens are finer for stainless steel and aluminum, so that's something we've been looking at. Now this filter in the main part here is about $550 Canadian, so you don't want to be burning those up all the time. The one at the top, I got a quote for somewhere around $750. It might be cheaper through the welding supply. So some things to keep in mind with this. If you get something like this, especially now that these things are coming, this is going to be, theoretically, we got this other unit to get hooked up. So when this goes on the market, it'll be third hand. To be looking after these things, it might be a thing to make a shroud that lets the air exhaust at the back, especially if someone's got a more confined shop, more sparks. We don't grind in here, so that takes away one hazard. So it definitely wasn't a grinding spark that started this fire. Other funny, ironic story, because we'd been looking at getting this other unit set up, the sales representative from Montreal calls up the day after this fire happened. I told him the story and said it never happens. I don't know. It's one of those things I feel like it'll happen more and more with these things becoming more accessible to people, more of them coming on the market, or the second-hand, third-hand market. So I feel like this video is a really valuable thing as far as keeping this stuff in mind, as far as just because we got safety gear, it doesn't mean we can just do whatever we want and not have to think about it, maintain it, think about best practices, look at other risks that, even though I'm sure there's all kinds of brilliant engineering minds that came up with this design, that obviously this top being open, this big louver here, there's not a whole lot of protection there for that filter. So hopefully this is a good learning lesson that we can all take away. What we did to repair that filter, because definitely don't want to just put a new filter in there, without really taking the time to think about what happened, how we might prevent it in the future, as well as $550, tough on the pocketbook, gotta pay some bills. So cut out the chart section, globbed it all over with silicone into the filter so it's really structurally bonded onto that filter. And it's not, in the bigger picture, it doesn't seem to be a whole lot of the capacity that's going to be lost. I think the biggest thing I learned is just how crestfallen I was as far as the expectations, as far as here I'd put this big investment out there, and yeah, it was tough thing to watch, and hopefully by other people learning, it takes some of the edge off it for me. So thanks so much for watching, and please like, subscribe, comment below on challenges you have in your shop. If there's something we've done similar, improvement, good idea, we'll do our best to make a video about that. And until next time, please stay safe and keep having fun.